We live in a country where we fund the research to prove that exercise is medicine. And we fund
Mhm.
the education to teach that exercise is medicine, but we do not fund Canadians to participate in exercise as medicine.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I hope everyone is having a great day. In today's episode of Let's Move Canada, of course, you have your typical hosts, Luigi and Dana from the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute. And in today's episode, we will talk with clinical exercise physiologist and successful entrepreneur, Sara Gilbert, about what inspired her career choices, right, in health promotion and what staying active and healthy means to her. Now, before we jump into all of this, let me start by saying that this podcast is brought to you by the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute, a national organization whose mission is to make Canada the fittest nation on earth by 2030. And with this goal in mind, of course, our podcast aims to raise awareness about physical and mental health. And with this, that brings us to today's guest, right? Today's special guest, Sara Gilbert, who, with over 20 years of career experience in chronic disease and exercise, is a leader in the movement of clinically based medical fitness programs and currently is the president of the Fitness Industry Council of Canada, or FIC. Now, with a professional background in cardiac rehab programming and diabetes, Sara also launched LiveWell in 2011, and with a deep passion and recognition that there is a gap in our healthcare system for medical fitness. And you know what? This is just such a great platform that allows people to be highly successful in terms of the exercise regimen that they're developing. Sara represents LiveWell's hardcore values and she lives them daily, right? She's smart, nimble, hardworking, passionate, and just an awesome mom of four young children. Now, Sara has a vision that everyone living with a chronic disease can benefit from exercise and live a healthy and full life, and that is no matter what. Sara, thank you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Or-
Yes, we're so excited to have you here. Our first question, we always start off pretty much the same, is how did your passion for health and fitness start, and were you very active growing up?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting how all these little pieces in our life, the puzzle kind of all of a sudden starts to slowly come together. And then you kind of have a picture and you can look back and go, oh, I understand where all those puzzle pieces came from, right? Um, I grew up in a family where my dad was a cross country runner. So, he would leave the house early in the morning with a gym bag and commute into Vancouver for work and join a running group. And he was really active. And so naturally for, my sister and I, we joined cross country and we became active that way. I wouldn't say that I was, overly kind of athletic. I, didn't play really many sports in my younger years. But I was somebody who, we lived on some property growing up and we had lots of chores to do. So I knew what it was like to work hard. And so I did kind of get involved in volleyball and learn to play volleyball in my high school years. I wasn't great at it, but I worked hard and tried my best to participate. Um, and that always, regardless of kind of how good I was, it made me feel good to be active and to be participating in something, whether that's the social component of it or what have you. So, throughout my life, then I really kind of continued to be active, but as a older teenager and in my early 20s, I was really maybe influenced, overwhelmed, confused by all of the magazines and all of the magazine covers that said, this is the hot workout for this month. Do this to tone your butt and thighs. Do this, do that, do this diet, do that diet. And it was like, felt like it was just coming at me from like everywhere. And I started to think to myself, I think I kind of want to learn what the truth is here. And I don't want to just be I felt like I was on a roller coaster ride with these magazines. I get the magazine that month and I would read it and I would go, okay, now I know what to do. And then next month I'd read it and it was a completely different story. And I just didn't want to be controlled by that anymore. So I was doing my science degree at UBC at the time, and I started to look for courses that I thought aligned with that. And I found these kinesiology courses. I'd never heard of kinesiology before. And so I found myself moving towards kinesiology courses, and eventually I moved faculties from science into kinesiology, and, you know, got a job at the university fitness gym. And that was kind of a launching point for me.
And it's so funny because I also kind of followed a similar path in
Mm.
undergrad where I started with, general sciences. I really thought I wanted to become a doctor, but I think at some point, to your point, you kind of want something more practical. You really want to get into the real life of it all, right? And so I switched to exercise and health science, which was a kinesiology path as well. And I think one of the cooler classes that I took was about aging and how to work well, right? To exercise perfectly. And when we think of chronic diseases, there's a different regimen. So I'm very curious to know how you kind of moved from, work, from kinesiology into LiveWell. I'm very curious to know about that journey into that part of your career, as well as becoming the president of the Fitness Industry Council of Canada.
Yeah, yeah. How long do we have? No, I'm kidding. So, um, first of all, you know, as I said, I went into kinesiology at university and I got a job at the Student Fitness Center. And this was a hot job. If you were a kinesiology student and you got a job at the Student Fitness Center, it was a really sought after job. And, you know, we were teaching spin class and boot camp and all of these fun things they were all new. They were all new concepts. And so it was really, really fun. And we had all the athletes there and the football players would come. And again, it was just such an exciting type of a job. And then one day our boss came to us and she said, hey, um, all of you are going to now split your time between working in the student fitness gym and a seniors fitness program that I'm starting across campus. And we all went, what? And she said, yeah, it's non-negotiable. You're going to do half of your time here and half of your time there. And I was a bit devastated. This is going to be so boring. This is going to be, how am I going to get through this? I wanted a job with all of the action and energy and the students and woohoo. And now I'm going to be exercising seniors. Like, how boring. But this is what was required of us. So I accepted. And 6 months later, I went into my boss's office and I said, you know, I want to request a schedule change. And she was like, nope, I have told everybody they have to do half of their time in the seniors fitness program. And I said, no, you don't understand. I want to do all of my time in the seniors fitness program.
Wow.
And she was like, what? And I was like, I love it. Like, I'm like, we are, you know, I can do boot camp and spin class and all of these things. And, you know, the football players get excited about winning the next game or winning the next trophy just to wake up the next day and have to win the next game and win the next trophy. But I've been working with these seniors and they're able to now go and take their dog for a walk again. They're able to play with their grandkids again. They're able to take that trip of retirement that they dreamed their whole careers of and then couldn't by the time they retired because their bodies weren't prepared for it. And we're actually having an impact on their life. And that's more meaningful to me. And that wakes me up in the morning. So that's what I want to do. So for my last couple of years at university, that's the work that I did. And that really, again, fueled something in me about helping people in a meaningful way that was not about performance and physique, but was truly about health. And so that led me on a trajectory that when I graduated, I got a job in cardiac rehab in the hospital setting. And I did that for the next decade. And that was a great experience for me. I had incredible mentors that to this day, I use that knowledge that I learned from those people who really taught me clinical exercise physiology, which really is about practicing exercise as medicine. It's about giving people that exercise prescription to help them to manage or prevent diabetes, heart disease, cancer, you name it. It's really, really powerful work, and it's really meaningful work. And I'll tell you that when you help somebody live their life the way that they want to, and to get back to the activities they used to do, and to be able to do those trips and live life to the fullest, that's far more meaningful than winning any game or any trophy. And so that was really, a decade in cardiac rehab. Also taught me a lot about people who are exercising for their health. And there was a few key messages I heard from our patients. The first one was, where do I go when I'm done cardiac rehab? Where am I going to go to get this support and supervision and care and community? And there wasn't anywhere. I also had our patients saying, can my wife come? Can my neighbor, my brother, my colleague, my friend who, they've been told that they have high blood pressure now, or they have a family history of this, or they're not active because they're not really sure what to do. And they're not going to go and join maybe a typical gym because they need more support than that. And maybe they're a little bit intimidated. Or they're worried about their blood pressure, and that if they exercise, it means they're going to have a heart attack. What about these people? And in cardiac rehab, I had to say, sorry, no, they can't come here until they've had the heart attack. Once they've had the heart attack, we'll welcome them into our exclusive group. And those things didn't resonate with me personally and with my values, where, first of all, people had nowhere in the community to go after they actually started to build a habit of exercise for their health, and that other people who their health wasn't worse enough to be able to participate in exercise, what about those people? So that's where in 2011, I started LiveWell and branched away from my very safe union job that I could have just kept for all of my life and retired with a full great pension. I had great benefits. I had vacation time like crazy, a great setup there from a practical standpoint, but from a core value standpoint and from who I was as a person, I did not feel that we were giving people and our community the best possible program that they could have to improve and manage their health and to truly champion them to live life to the fullest. And so I cashed in my pension that I had built up so far in my 10 years, and I started LiveWell. So that kind of
Wow.
That was 13 years ago.
Amazing.
That's such an amazing story. And what a rewarding experience.
Mm-hmm.
What you're saying, and to have a career where you're basically improving the quality of someone's life, right? And I totally agree with you. I would also feel weird of being like, no, sorry, you can't come in because you don't have the symptoms or the problems that these
Wait till your health gets
like,
worse and then we'll see you.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
what a message to give.
totally.
It just doesn't. Yeah.
I love that you just decided I'm going to step away and I'm going to start something new because it's needed, and there's totally a huge space for it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's such a good story.
Mm-hmm.
So how does the importance of exercise and everything that you're doing at these clinics, the importance of all of that with mental health as well, not just physical health?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because at LiveWell, we really started with, it was family doctors and specialists sending their patients to us. And, we looked at the evidence of where do we know that exercise has a significant impact. And mental health, depression, stress, anxiety, those are all areas that there's a lot of research that has already been done, and growing research and more compelling research even today. But there was already the research to show that exercise was beneficial. So on the form that we created for doctors to send their patients to us, we had mental health on there. And so we started to see referrals come into our clinic for people who who were dealing with mild to moderate depression, stress, and anxiety, and seeing the positive impact that exercise had on them alongside, you know, kind of this adjunct therapy of social connection that was meaningful. And you know, I think specifically of the you know, man in his 40s who started in our program, and he was you know, typically staying in bed till about 3 o'clock every day, and off work and not earning an income and on disability and dealing with depression. And at LiveWell, we believe in that exercise is an appointment, and we have that high level of accountability. And we just started him at session times then at 3 o'clock, because that's the time that he was waking up and getting started with his day. And then as he built his own self-efficacy, as he started to feel better slowly, we moved him to 2 o'clock. And then we moved him up more and more and more until the point that we could have him coming at 9 in the morning and having a regular start to the day, which is the time that he started work. And think of the power behind that. You know, it was slow and it was successive, but it was successful. And he was able to have the confidence that he can wake up with a purpose, feel good, and get on with his day, right? And that was the power of exercise, right? So I think that, you know, those are things that we were doing over a decade ago, but, you know, the last 3 years, I think that it became really evident to Canadians, the Canadians who had not been dealing with any level of mental health issues. It became so evident that our exercise and our movement and our activity was paramount for our mental health. And in my role with the Fitness Industry Council of Canada as the president, we did a whole social media campaign when gyms were closed to say, what do you miss about going to the gym? Just trying to get people chatting and sharing different things. And we created a little post so that people could almost like write on that post, like what were the things that they missed and what were the things that they appreciate so much about the gym that they're not there. And, you know, you might think that they're going to say lifting with the bros, selfies in the mirror. That's kind of the cliche things that people would think. But everybody came back with their mental health. I need this.
Really? Wow.
Get back in there. I'm missing this for my mental health. And I think that was this moment of awareness in Canadians that now I hear it on a daily basis. I know that I need to do this. And yes, for my body, but for my mind. And I think that's a really powerful transition that we've made. And if there's anything good that came out of COVID, that transition and awareness is one of the things.
Very wholesome. Very, very wholesome. And I you know, when I think of balancing life, right, and having the right exercise regimen, having something that fits someone, right, that contributes positively to their mental health and as well as their physical prowess, of diet, right? I think diet, a lot of times, at least for me, it can make or break my exercise regimen because, you know, it's you may want to look a certain way or you may want to have certain habits, certain exercise habits for long term. But, you know, a burger can, you know, after a while, it just looks really good. You may want to go and, you know, have that burger. So I wonder how how does your team include diet in the exercise regimen of your clients? Like we know that it's important, but how is it important to you? And I'm also curious, how do you do you follow any specific diets in your personal life, right? So I'm very curious about these 2 points.
Yeah. So specifically with our membership, and you know, our members typically tend to be older age adults who have been through the yo-yo dieting. They went through the 80s low-fat craze and gained weight because of it. And we have predominantly women that are our members. We We don't use the word diet simply because it's triggering, and the definition of it that society believes for it to be, I don't think is overly helpful for our demographic that we serve. So we talk more about nutrition principles and about building healthy habits. So we have 7 healthy nutrition principles that we ask our members to consider. We do not prescribe any specific route for them to take. So, we will share the research and the benefits of being vegan, but that doesn't mean that we're telling all of our members to be vegan. But maybe it moves that person who eats red meat 5 times a week and inspires them to maybe reduce that down to twice a week, right? It's about how do we just shift people on the spectrum? Because the concept of perfection around our eating habits is simply what leads people to devastational eating habits. And so how do we build habits one little thing at a time to ensure that we're building our self-efficacy and our confidence that we can do this and we can sustain this, right? And we can't sustain anything that we do in an all or nothing format, but we can sustain things that we do in small little steps. And so, we just ask our member to kind of work on one thing at a time, to have accountability in our clinics, to be working on that one little thing. For example, maybe it's somebody who says, hey, I really need to be bringing my lunch to work because I'm skipping lunch, or I'm eating out, or I'm just grabbing something quickly and eating it and not even being mindful that I ate it. It's just gone and I've kind of scarfed it down. So I want to start to bring my lunch. Okay. So we wouldn't work with that person to say, oh, okay, so that means that you work Monday to Friday. So all 5 days of the week, you're bringing your lunch to work. It's about, okay, how confident would you be to bring your lunch to work once a week? Could you on Sunday prep your lunch for Monday, knowing that, okay, yeah, so you're confident, like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, great. So what about twice a week? Monday, then maybe Thursday, you could bring your lunch to work. I'm pretty confident. How confident are you? Yeah, like 8 out of 10. Awesome. So let's start there. And then it's just about kind of them bringing their lunch to work. Even what is in the contents of the lunch, we're not even talking about yet. We're just trying to change the habit from one thing that we know is an unhealthy habit to something we know is a healthier habit, and moving those things successfully. And building people's self-efficacy in the way that they are doing things, and the confidence that they can continue. And I approach it in my own life the same way, that we have to be working on these little pieces, and there will be times where, it's the holiday season and there's more chocolate in the house, and I love chocolate, right? And so how do I manage that? And how do I ensure that I'm eating my salads for lunch every day, and that I'm nourishing my body that way, and that I'm drinking enough water? But I don't subscribe, and we don't share with our membership any specific diet that they should follow. We want everyone to do something that works for them. Because as we all know, we could go to any bookstore and buy a million different books on diets, meal plans, whatever you want, and none of them work because they don't respect us as an individual and our own preferences, right? So I think that's first and foremost.
I really love your principle on little by little, right? Like little changes here and there. You don't have to do every single thing, but the little things that are working for you to move you towards that healthy lifestyle, right? Like I really, really love that.
Yeah, and in a year you've made 52 little changes. Incredible, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Trying to make some like big radical change. It's just right. It's just not going to happen for people. They need.
Exactly.
I think it's just so much easier to be like, okay, like you said, let's pick one day out of the week. Let's prep on Sunday and just do one day of the week. That's one little, it's like baby steps. It's like easing you in, and it's so much more likely to happen, right? Than like, no, you're going to go from 0 to making your lunch every day. Like, okay, way too overwhelming and just too much.
Yeah.
So I read your article in the Calgary Herald, which was amazing. And you're talking about incentivizing a healthy lifestyle, which is what we are trying to do, the same message we're trying to do, right? So tell everyone what the difference is between investing in health and investing in healthcare.
Yeah, well, I mean, from my opinion, I see healthcare as organizational and kind of, that's our provincial healthcare system. Our health is personal. It's my health. It belongs to me, and I'm the CEO of my health, and I have to direct that and lead that and make the best decisions for myself. And I think that, again, over the last 3 years, where we saw a lot of people relying on the healthcare system to lead them and to tell them what they should do and to give them the treatment that they would need. We are now living in a country where we have an overburdened, imploding healthcare system, and Canadians' only option, honestly, for moving forward with leading a healthy lifestyle is for us to invest in our health, and our health is personal. It is something that we own, and we have to be our own advocates. We have to be proactive. And, I'll say that even at LiveWell, I see a huge change in the psychology of our members. Even in early 2020, January, February, those are really good months of the year. People get motivated to be active.
Yep.
Yes. People were still kind of like, okay, well, let me think about it. And if a time comes that I really feel like I need exercise, then maybe I'll get started. But, I'm walking now, and I think that's good enough. And so good, something to think about. Thank you. Fast forward to now, January and soon to be February of 2024, people are going, I have to do something, because if I don't do something, nobody is there to do that for me.
Exactly.
And I need to do what is best for myself. I need to advocate for myself. I need to be planned and prepared for myself. And I am the only one who will make that change. I need to do something now, and it needs to be meaningful. When can I start? And that's the
And that's
change.
an empowering message as well, right? Because you want to feel empowered that you do have control somewhat over your health, and
Absolutely.
but actually quite a bit, right? Like you have, decisions that you make, what you're eating, how exercise you're doing. There's a lot of things that you actually can feel empowered about, that you're not at the mercy of just, randomness. Or, I mean, of course there are the times that you are, but it's a lot of it is personal choice and personal decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So being an advocate
and personal
for yourself.
responsibility. Yeah.
Right.
I do
right.
think it is personal responsibility. Like, sure, when you get your mammogram, sure, you're going to wait in line for getting your appointment whenever they give that to you. But for what you can do every single day to prevent cancer, to prevent heart disease, to prevent diabetes is in your hands.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. It's a good message.
And inspiring, and doing that yourself, you don't know who you're inspiring. Hopefully, bless you, a lot of people around you, right? I really love your point about being proactive and being the CEO of yourself and taking initiative.
I think it really comes down to readiness, of course, and priority. And our readiness can change based on different factors in our life. But in order to really identify the priority that healthy living can have for us, I think that we have to ask ourselves why. And so I do a lot of asking why. So you don't exercise for the next 5 years. What do you think could happen? Where do you think life could be? So you do nothing, and you start to, have the ill effects of that. How does that feel for you? What are the things in life that you might miss out on? And what are the things that are important to you? And oftentimes then that comes down to, well, my kids and my grandkids and travel and, being able to participate and socialize with my friends and get out on the golf course or play tennis or whatever those things may be. Okay, so, and if you can't do those, how does that impact your life? And to have people really understand, like, oh my goodness, if I continue not doing anything, that's going to have a really negative impact on my life, which is going to lead to me not being able to do the things I want to do. At the end of the day, it's about being able to do the things you want to do, right? And why is it important to you to be able to do those things you want to do? And continuing to ask the why to really identify where that priority can be in somebody. So why is it important for you to, be able to participate with your family? And if you couldn't, what would that mean to you? And
Mhm.
bringing somebody to the realization that, like, yeah, I do need to do something in order to not be there. It would be like disciplining a child who is acting out at 7 or 8 years old and saying, if you keep doing this, you're going to end up in juvie. How does that impact their life right now? They go, that doesn't have an impact for them. They don't really understand juvie. Well, what is that? And what would that be like? And it sounds bad,
Mhm.
but like, I don't really know what it is. And that's how people feel when they're not at that state of readiness to engage in something. They haven't quite thought, if you don't do this, something bad will happen. Well, what is that bad? And it's not near enough to me that I feel it yet, right?
Mhm.
And so if it's not near enough, then let's talk about where life is going to go if things keep going the way that they're going to go. And if that's the route that you want to be on. And if not, we can change the path, right?
Right.
Makes
So much
sense.
good information. And I'm just, all these people are going through my mind right now of, I wish they could go to your LiveWell clinic. I wish they could go to your LiveWell clinic. Because it's so true. Like the quality of life. And like, I think about grandparents playing with their kids. Like you said, it's
Yeah.
so important. It's so important. And it's a there's so many things you can be doing starting early on, or any age, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can start at any age.
You can start at
Um,
any age. And it doesn't
yeah,
take
that's
much exercise to have health benefit. It really
right.
doesn't. People think, oh, you have to run or you have to do something really intense and you have to be sweaty or you have to have someone yelling at you like on these TV shows and, working intensely and dripping sweat. And that's not true. We know
Right.
that in as little as 10 minutes, you can have a positive impact on your mental health, on your blood
Mhm.
sugars, on your blood pressure, right? This is meaningful. Exercise is not about trying to kill ourselves in the gym. Exercise is about having a joyful 10 minutes where at the end of it, we go, wow, I feel incredible.
Right. So anyone
A
watching this
small difference
podcast,
add
it's
up.
not too late to start. Yeah.
Yes,
It's just
it's never too late to start.
never too late to
Start with a
start.
10-minute walk.
Right. And I'm sure there's lots of information on Sarah's website and you can, all of that. Um, we're gonna switch gears for 1 second and we're gonna ask you a question about what are your interests outside of health and fitness or hobbies that you have?
Yeah. So for many years until recently, I've always had horses growing up, so I've been very into equestrian riding, and that's always been kind of a hobby of mine. And but my horse got older, and so I haven't been riding in the last year. So I love cycling. I love running. Again, I grew up in a family where my dad was a cross country runner, so being outside and running in a park and smelling that smell of park is something that really is actually almost therapeutic for me. It's
Mhm.
calming. I don't see it as like, oh, this is an intense workout. It's something that feeds my soul and my mind. So
Mhm.
I really enjoy that. And my kids are actually all kind of growing or grown. My oldest is now in university and or they're, in high school, and really watching them play sport and being involved in that is something that I am really enjoying at this stage of life. And
Do you ever get involved with that? Like, are you ever involved with your kids at sports or anything
they're
like that?
they're older now and definitely wouldn't want me to be overly involved. They have really good coaches and so forth, but I'm there to cheer them on and to make sure
Yeah.
that they're having a good time and feel supported. And outside of that, when they say that when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, and that's
Mhm.
100% how I feel. So I spend a lot of my time working with our LiveWell members and with all of our different clinics across Canada, and then doing work with the Fitness Industry Council of Canada also.
How many clinics do you have across Canada
We
and
have
where are they?
we have 14. So we have
Oh, okay.
four
Beautiful.
in
Wow.
Ontario, one in Alberta, and then 9 in British Columbia and the Lower Mainland.
Wow.
Wow, there's 9 in British
Amazing.
Columbia. Oh,
Mhm.
okay, that's amazing. I'm going to tell everyone I know about it.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And you know, it's so funny because it sounds like you're already doing so much nationally because we have one more question to kind of just bring it back full circle, and that's if you could change one thing today in Canada related to health and fitness, what would it be? And that's aside from what you're already doing.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I would, and I am trying, but I would change the fundamental policy and structure of our healthcare system to be proactive and not reactive. I look at our members who come into our clinics every single day and how much money they are saving our healthcare system because they are being proactive and active and improving their health and maintaining their independence. And I think that we really need to switch this up on our heads. When as a fitness community, we ask our federal government for funding for Canadians to be more active, and we're told no. But then we look at the budget come out, and billions of dollars is being spent on acute healthcare. I just think there's a time when we have to recognize the return on investment financially and personally for each Canadian. It is worth it. And the numbers are there to prove it. We need to give our heads a shake and wake up as a country. And we have to turn this on our heads and say we need to be proactive and provide more resources and funding for people to exercise. Can you imagine if fitness was free for Canadians? How much better off our country would be, and every
Right.
Canadian in it. How incredible would that be, right? That's the world I
Powerful
dream of.
question. Very
So
powerful
I think
question.
so
Powerful
you
thought.
can, yeah, there, advocacy. So personal responsibility in your choices with health and fitness, and also if government spending and funding was focused more on preventative health.
Yeah,
Those two things
Right,
would
absolutely.
be to
increasing
totally change.
accessibility as well.
Yeah,
Right? Because when you think of free fitness, that's it's very accessible, or at least
Right.
part of it
Right.
becomes very accessible.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
Beautiful.
great.
Very
I
well
did
said.
see something about that in your article about was it tax breaks, tax credit, something like that for isn't there's a province in Canada that's doing it already, right? Where you can
Yeah,
write
yeah,
off certain things.
yeah. Newfoundland is doing it.
Mhm.
And so we'll see kind of what the outcome is of that. But I do believe that if right now we do have a medical expense category on our personal taxes, and
Mhm.
there's pages and pages of things that you can write off that are of benefit to your health that you've paid for personally, and exercise is listed there as ineligible.
Oh,
And
wow.
we
Okay.
need to change that. We need to change
Right.
that. Canadians, at the very least, if we're not going to fund their exercise, why can't we recognize we live in a country where we fund the research to prove that exercise is medicine? And we fund
Hmm.
the education to teach that exercise is medicine, but we do not fund Canadians to participate in exercise as medicine. We should be ashamed of ourselves. Like, really, it's
Right.
appalling. So we again, we need to wake up and we need to at least start there.
Amazing. Well, you heard it here. You heard it first. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being part of our
Yeah, thank
podcast
you.
today. We had such a great conversation, very enlightening, and just overall in awe of all of the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
All
Thanks for
right.
having
Well,
me.
of course, the pleasure is all ours. And thank you to all of our followers for watching the episode. Of course, again, we're Dana and Luigi from the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute. Make sure to follow Sarah as Sarah Gilbert on LinkedIn, on her Instagram as sarah.with.a.spark. I know that was a lot. We'll make sure to link it. We'll make sure to put it in the description box. And also visit her website for LiveWell at livewellclinic.ca. And of course, as usual, please check our Instagram at Let's Move Canada for latest updates and head over to our website at chfi.fit to learn more about our mission and to look at our upcoming episodes. And of course, if you're interested in being part of our podcast or want to refer someone, you can always DM us. So stay tuned for announcements and see you next time. Thank you.